Okay, two vaginas. Let's go. Guys, ready to learn about two vaginas?
Does that mean that men can have two penises? Actually, yes.
What?
Growing up, I had very irregular periods. I would have 2 a month sometime. It was very unpredictable and very emotional growing up as a teenager. Besides that, everything else was pretty normal. I actually had no idea until I went to my first gynecologist appointment.
It sounds like she has uterine didelphys, and this is a condition that develops in utero. Essentially, when you're a fetus and the uterus is developing, it starts by being two different ducts called the Mullerian ducts, and these are essentially like two tubes that ideally fuse together to form the uterus. But in uterine didelphys, those two Mullerian ducts do not fuse together, and they essentially develop separately, resulting in two uteruses. Now, interestingly enough, these girls can also develop then two cervixes and even potentially two vaginas.
And she had
Double periods? That's like, oh, no, 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 no. Mm-mm. And then imagine having a heavy period. Mm-mm-mm. Look like freaking crime scene, 100, like, all the time. Mm-mm. And then the mood swings? No. Stop it. The mood swings? Holy. And then exactly what Ray said. What if you don't synced up? And what if you just have them back to back? Or is one out of commission and while the other one's working? Can you get pregnant in both uteruses so you have two babies? One in one uterus? So look like, how would that fit? How would that work in the belly? That's nope.
a very surprised look on her face when she was doing my examination. And I was a little worried at first, but she said, it's probably nothing. I just think you might have a septum. But just in case, I want to call for an MRI.
A septum is essentially a flap of tissue that will separate the vagina into basically two compartments. Now, in some cases, the septum can be quite thick, and in other cases, it's quite thin, and surgery can be done to actually remove it.
But when I was getting the MRI, the person giving me the exam gasped out loud.
She did say, look, two cervixes.
I was getting the MRI.
2 periods a month. Bro.
The person giving me the exam
Could get pregnant in both sides at different times. Oh no. I don't think there's 2 holes, blind. I think there's 1 hole, I think. And that 1 hole leads to, oh shit, sorry, I didn't mean to smack you. Leads to 2 uteruses. Double prego. Yeah. So you stick your noodle in the box, right? And then your pot. And then you add some Alfredo sauce and it goes into the pot, and the pot is has 2 compartments, right? And the Alfredo sauce can leak into the 2 compartments of the pot, right? And then you can add, then you have 2 dishes. Okay, buddy. Oh my god. They have 2 dishes. Therefore, you got pregnant on both sides. That's the best way I could describe it. Let's see what they say.
Gasped out loud. She was like, you have 2 complete reproductive systems.
Okay, so this encounter actually makes me cringe a little bit, and it's because of 2 things. First of all, I see patients who come to see me with various different issues that they have with their body. And one of the first things that I train all my staff on is no matter what you see, when a patient, let's say, opens up their gown or shows us, you cannot react to it. There's no wow, there's no oh my god, what the hell is that? There's no holy crap. You really have to just not react at all, because in general, patients, they come in, they feel already self-conscious, and what they don't need is some stranger gasping at how they look. The second issue that I have with this encounter is that it sounds like the technician was giving the diagnosis to the patient. And in every hospital I've been to, that is a big no-no. It shouldn't be the technician who is giving the exam to give the actual diagnosis to the patient or to read those films. It must be the radiologist or the patient's physician to give the patient that information.
A lot of people have questioned why I've gone public about something that's so personal to me. And honestly, I just believe that no parts of any human body should be shamed or hidden.
I really commend this young woman for being so open and upfront about her condition. Now, this is not a rare condition. It's just what I would say uncommon. About 0.1 to 0.5% of women have basically 2 uteruses.
If you have sex with your right-sided vagina, but you're ovulating from the left side, okay? And there's a septum that starts in your uterus and goes all the way down. There's no way for that sperm to get through to that egg.
So here's a diagram of uterine didelphys so that you can see how it works. Essentially, you can see that there are 2 completely separate uteruses, there are 2 completely separate cervixes, and once again, you can get a septum that actually separates the one vagina essentially into 2. Now, once again, surgery can be performed to remove the septum.
So when we see women who have any kind of variation in their anatomy, there's always a risk for fertility.
No, because she could have one, right? So she could have the left side. One, and then it goes that way. Because when the person did the thing, they didn't comment on the... They just said you have 2 uteruses up there.
Into 2. Now, once again, surgery can be performed to remove the septum.
So when we see women who have any kind of variation in their anatomy, there's always a risk for fertility issues.
Women who have uterine didelphys aren't necessarily unable to have children. It just may make it more difficult for them to do so, especially more difficult for them to get into the 2nd and 3rd
So extra Alfredo sauce. Got it.
trimesters of pregnancy.
Other thing that this increases your risk for is poor pregnancy outcome, okay? And what we're talking about there, okay, is you could have recurrent miscarriages. You could also have situations where you have 2nd trimester losses, okay?
One reason why women who have uterine didelphys develop miscarriages oftentimes in the 2nd trimester is because of the limited size of the uterus. As the baby is basically growing larger and larger, they hit around that 2nd trimester, and there may not be enough space for the baby as well as for the placenta to essentially develop that baby any larger.
Well, I mean, currently I'm not trying to have kids, but when
Mama
I eventually
looks
do,
devastated.
like you said, I'll have to be menstruating one side. I could probably plan that out, or at least see.
Now, there's actually an interesting story of a woman who has uterine didelphys, and she actually has developed an OnlyFans and has become a sex worker, and she claims in articles that she has one vagina for her husband and the other vagina for work. And yes,
What? What? That's like saying your booty hole is for work and your vagina's for your significant other. What the shit? I cannot.
both sides can actually get pregnant separately. I tell you, the human body is an amazing thing.
I think the main message that I am hoping to share with my story is just being comfortable and open and confident with your body.
I really do commend her on sharing her story.
Don't go
and
in the
being so
community
positive about
vagina.
it. It's a great story about a woman who is persevering in the face of a kind of uncommon condition. Now, speaking of uncommon, what do you think about a guy who has a 100-pound scrotum? Yes, his ball sack weighs 100 pounds. You've got to see this to believe it. And here's my reaction to his story. And remember, as always, to eat real food, use clean skincare, and auto-rejuvenate before you operate.
Uh-huh.